One of the things that hosts are freaking out about right now is Airbnb switching from the host and guest shared fee now to a host only fee. But you look at it, I think it was smart what they did. Airbnb was so host friendly. All they wanted to do was get more hosts, get more hosts, get more hosts, get more hosts, get more properties up until I think probably 2 years ago. But you look at it and you look at Airbnb, it's only 3.5% to acquire a customer. It's 3.5% to acquire a guest. That's amazing. What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody is having a great week. It is Mike Riley here. I'm doing a solo episode this week as E is up at an event at our new office in Beverly, Massachusetts. It is going to be an incredible place, but he's up there with our boardroom folks. I'm currently in North Carolina. We're onboarding 4 new properties right now. And so I did a solo show today, one of my favorite shows I've done in a long time with Thibault Masson, who is the head of product marketing at PriceLabs. We got pretty deep on this new Airbnb 15% host fee and the data there. We got pretty deep on the future of Airbnb and revenue management and really just explained what is going to happen and how PriceLabs is going to be using AI in the future to help price your properties better, to hit your goals better, make you more income. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Thibault Masson, the head of product marketing at PriceLabs, to the STR Secret Show. Thibault, how are you?
Mike, great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Fantastic. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing awesome. I actually spent probably 3 hours this morning with my revenue manager just working on our stuff earlier today. So this conversation is quite timely and I'm looking forward to it. So just to level set with our listeners, can you just explain what your role is, a little bit about your background, a little bit about PriceLabs, and we'll kick off the conversation.
All right. So let's just say I've been a vacation short-term rental owner for about 25 years, I would say. My ex and I, there's always an ex in any good story, right? So my ex and I actually were in the French Caribbean on small islands, and we're just like spending time there on vacation. And we saw people doing what they call villa hopping. So villa hopping is basically when you go and see a real estate agent and pretend you want to buy something just to go and see fancy places. You should not be doing this because you're wasting people's time, but we're young and foolish. So we did this, and actually we talked with one of the real estate agent, and he was like, you know what, that's not a house, it's a business. In the sense that they already have bookings for next year, and you're on a small island, you could get a loan very easily because it's a business you're buying with a very good record of getting bookings. And we have short-term rental companies here who keep the house. You already have an agent. They will keep the house and get you those revenues. And we're like, thought about it a bit. The following year, we did buy this smaller house and we renovated over 20 years. And long story short, that's how I fell into this. On the other hand, I was always into tech, into software. And at some point, I started writing about the industry. I have a website called Rental Scale Up, where we talk about any trends really in the industry. And it was acquired 3 years ago by PriceLabs. And now I'm the head of product marketing at PriceLabs. So PriceLabs, what is it? So it's a short-term rental, it's a revenue management platform. It does dynamic pricing. So what it means is like it's able to see what's happening on Airbnb, on Booking, on Vrbo, and say, oh, that's the trend. That's how much bookings there are. That's how early or how late they are. Let's help you automatically move your prices up and down to match that demand so you really can optimize your revenue. And head of product, basically, product marketing is be able to talk to the tech team, understand what they're doing, be doing AI and algorithms, and translating this into words people can understand, which just helps you increase revenue. You can make more money with us. And let me tell you how. That's basically what I did. And in between, I worked for 5 years at Booking.com when they started competing with Airbnb, trying to make them relevant, which is not easy. Lots of stuff, really. I even had a network of fashion blogs at some point, which has nothing to do with this, but that's how it is.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. So with your role at PriceLabs, how do you just view PriceLabs versus some of the other revenue management tools out there? Obviously, Wheelhouse, there's new competitors like Hospitable who's coming out with their tool. How do you view PriceLabs in the industry and on the revenue management?
It's a great question, right? If you look at there are 2 families of tools, right? You have the specialists, Wheelhouse, Beyond, PriceLabs, for example. People who night and day just do only one thing. They just focus on increasing prices or helping you find the right minimum length of stay so that you get the right bookings, the right moment, and giving you analytics to understand what's happening. So it's not a black box. And for example, tools like PriceLabs, we have years and years of data, which means, for example, like every week we just scan Airbnb, Vrbo, and Booking for the whole world. And we have all this data stored. So it means for any listing, like any short-term rental listing in North Carolina, for example, we're able to build a pricing model because we know the patterns over the years. And then we're able to analyze this year to say, okay, is this year different from usual or not? And then we look at the occupancy of your listing, of that very listing, and say, okay, the market is tanking, but your occupancy is doing great. You should be holding your prices. And we do that. We calculate the prices and we send over to your PMS because we connect to PMSs and then over to the platform. So we do this and we have this strength that, for example, we have all this data or we've been improving the algorithm over the years. Second family of tools are tools that are provided, dynamic pricing tools provided by PMSs, right? This property management software, like Hospitable, Guesty, Hostaway. I would say the key difference is one of, as I said, funny enough, Mike, it's not hard for you and me to say we are creating some kind of dynamic pricing tool. To say we have this feature, we can calculate prices, show you a graph, and we can calculate your last minute pricing. I can say that I can have this feature here, but how good is the algorithm behind? And it can be very hard to assess, right? I understand that. Just what I said, it's like, does it rely on years of data to really understand the pattern of each listing? How good are they at detecting events? For example, maybe I know there's a big event happening in my market, but maybe I don't. So hopefully the tools are so good that they can see, okay, we see some kind of uptake in some markets, in some area, on some dates, and it looks kind of big. We're going to increase the prices. And that takes some kind of years of experience because that's something you're testing. You have a model. You think, I think we have a good model, and you actually test on actual properties to see how we do this. And every day at PriceLabs, we handle the prices of more than 500,000 listings, so 500,000 listings in the world. So it means we have sort of a scale to be able to test new ways of pricing. So I think that's a differentiator between the specialists and one of the PMSs. Again, it's not hard to say I have these features, but how good is the engine below? Mm-hmm. And PriceLabs, really also the difference is that we cater to everyone. If you have one listing or if you are a short-term rental company with thousands, we cater to you. That's also a big difference with some companies.
Yeah, that's very true. I've seen the model for detecting events get much, much better and much more granular too over the last couple of years. That's been pretty cool to see. One of the things that hosts are freaking out about right now is Airbnb switching from the guest or the host and guest shared fee now to a host only fee. And I had one of my buddies who's a CFO for a bookkeeping company, and he kind of broke down what are the implications of this change. What is the implications for the homeowner? What is the implications for the host or the property manager? And then really the big winners, in our opinion, was the government and the people collecting the taxes. So that was pretty interesting to see. But what do you foresee and what are you telling people about this new host only fee with Airbnb and how they should adjust their prices on Airbnb right now?
Sure. So if you're listening to this and you're in the US, it's a change for you. If you're not, it's not a change. Mm-hmm. What I mean by here is that in Europe, for example, or in the Caribbean, for me, 4 years ago, Airbnb did this, where they switched me from 3% to 15% at the time, right? I was like, what's happening? And funny enough, not much. It's not, what I meant to say, on one hand, it's really funny. If you talk to some people, they tell you, does nothing, just increase your markup in your PMS. So at the time, I'm like, what's a markup? What are we talking about? Meaning the idea is like to say, obviously, what's going to happen is that Airbnb now is charging in the US for anybody who's using some kind of a PMS to connect to Airbnb. They're going to 3% to 5% host fee only. So no more guest fee, right? Almost on that side. Everything is, Airbnb is taking everything out of your nightly rates, your revenue. So of course, what you must do is increase your nightly rate so that what you end up having in your pocket is the same as before. And of course, that's because the 12 to 14% guest fee that was there is not charged anymore to the guests. So you do have room to increase your rate so that it's about the same as before. I hope I'm clear. So anyway, there's a way to go to your PMS and say, for example, PriceLab is generating my prices. We send over the prices to your PMS, and from the PMS, you send over your listings and your prices to Airbnb, Vrbo, and the rest. It's there at the junction between your PMS and Airbnb that you need to sort of put a percentage that will make up for this difference. That's the markup. That's where it's happening. And the markup is actually 18.34%. It's not 15.5%. Mm-hmm. I made a mistake, so don't do that. But in case, I think you can do the math. You're listening to this, take a sheet of paper. I will not do the math, but basically, if you imagine we're sending over at PriceLabs $100 for the night, a nightly rate, to the PMS, what should happen on Airbnb? You should have $118.34, so that when Airbnb comes and take 15.5%, 15.5% out of it, and do end up with your 100%. So to make it invisible, you need to increase this markup by 18.34%. It should be 18.34%. So anyways, I hope the math is clear. Believe me, but try it for yourself. What's interesting though is that it's not just Airbnb is commissioned not just on the nightly rates, as we know, right? It's also taking money out of our cleaning fees, right, for example, any kind of actually fees that you're putting out there. So it does mean this also should increase. Right? For example, imagine in the past you had some price, you also need to increase it to make up for it. Any kind of, maybe even your HOA fees, any kind of fees you had should be increased, because again, Airbnb will take more out of this. So that's the thing. So on one hand, yes, there's some math to do. On one hand, it should feel like nothing is changing much, because as I said, same money in your pocket, and a same amount for the fees.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking about it earlier. And guys, for the listeners, if you guys need a spreadsheet for this, I did a training on this about 2 weeks ago. So just go to the Short Term Rental Secrets Facebook group. All you need to do is search Short Term Rental Secrets in Facebook. You'll find us and ask for that spreadsheet. Just ask the question, hey, can we get that spreadsheet? Because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that you'll lose as a host. And then also the owners are losing too if you're not making these changes as well. So I was wondering earlier, what are we going to see if, the expert property managers, I don't even want to put a number on it. Let's call it 20% of listings in our markets are managed by expert property managers. The other 80%, maybe they're single hosts, maybe they're, competitors to ours. But if they don't raise their prices, what's going to happen to us? Are we going to lose occupancy? Are we going to maybe drop in the algorithm? I've wondered about that.
That's a great question, because I said, on one hand, people tell you, it's some math, just change your markup, you have a PMS, just do this and you're done. And interesting enough, when Airbnb announced it, there was so much noise on LinkedIn, right? I recorded a video on my LinkedIn to say, hey, that's what's happening. I understand. It's scary, right? Again, we had this thing happen 4 years ago. So, what's interesting to hear is that why is Airbnb doing this now? Well, they could not do this before April 2025. They could not have done this before. Why? It's only in that moment that they started displaying the prices fully loaded when people start searching. What I mean is that when people start searching for a property with a date and a destination, they're going to see search results, and there they're going to see a full price. Now, the difference is the full price by default is fully loaded with all the fees, whether it's your host fee or guest fee plus, let's say, split fee model, your guest fee of 12 to 14% to your 3% host fee, or your 15.5%, everything is in. It's all included. So normally, right, it does mean if I'm in markets where I'm competing with somebody who's on split fee model, 3% plus 12 to 14, and I am charged 15.5% by Airbnb. Well, when people start searching, the travelers, which really matters here, they see everything, all the fees. So we are competing on the same foot, right? And I understand it could be disconcerting. We're thinking, but these other people, they have not raised their rates. But on the other hand, if from the get-go, from the start, when travelers start searching now, they see all the fees in, you're kind of more on equal footing, I would say. And funny enough, I worked at Booking.com. Do you know this 15.5%, 15%? That's Booking.com's model.
That's what they do.
When I started, so I joined Booking.com. That was also a funny story. But anyway, they wanted to compete with Airbnb. That was like 8 years ago. And they wanted, for some reason, they asked me to come in because they wanted some people from the industry to say they were really good at hotels, but not so much vacation rentals. And they wanted people from the industry to try to explain to their team how things work. And I'm like, oh yeah, but you're charging 15%. That's going to look expensive to hosts who are on Airbnb. And Booking.com is very rational. They show you the math, as I explained. Yeah, but with the math, it's the same thing. The channel is not more expensive. It's just the way the money is taken out of somebody's pocket. Here, we're taking all the money out of the pocket of the host. They just need to raise the prices and it should be okay. But it's true, whenever Booking.com came to the US and started explaining to everyone, even property managers, that their fee is 15%, take no guest fee, it was a very hard sell for them because we're like, you're way more expensive than Airbnb. And again, they could stop, do the math, go to the whiteboard and show you that in the end, it's the same. People will not believe this. But still it's interesting in Booking.com. We did studies and research and actual studies. Booking.com is the experiment machine. If you charge the same amount in the end, but you have a line that's called guest fee with an amount, it's going to convert less. People going to think it's more expensive. And think about this, it's very important to Airbnb. Everybody's been said, oh, Airbnb is expensive now. I hate Airbnb, blah, blah. On the consumer side, I'm talking, right? On the traveler side. Now, Airbnb, this line is appearing. So it's not Airbnb being expensive. It's us, right? In a way. So the prices don't change, but the perception, at least, that it's not Airbnb that's expensive. If something is expensive, it's going to be what you were charging. It's kind of hard to explain to the travelers that's baked into our rates. It's what we pay to Airbnb, of course. But that's interesting. But it's proven it does improve conversion. Yeah. So hopefully we should be good.
And I think it was smart what they did. You know, Airbnb was so host friendly. All they wanted to do was get more hosts, get more hosts, get more hosts, get more hosts, get more properties, up until I think probably 2 years ago, where they were like, all right, now we've got a lot of properties, at least in the US. I know they're still growing like crazy worldwide. But you look at it and you look at Airbnb, it's only 3.5% to acquire a customer. It's 3.5% to acquire a guest. That's amazing. Usually it's like 15% to acquire a guest. That's a pretty much industry, right. I would just say standard across the board. And you look at Vrbo and we're like, all right, Vrbo's 5%. Oh, wow, that's high. I don't like Vrbo. I like Airbnb. But now that they have enough properties, they're growing, their numbers look solid. Airbnb says, hey, we're going to switch this now and be more guest friendly or traveler friendly and try and get more travelers on the platform. And in my opinion, too, I think Airbnb wants to be more of a social media type of platform as well and almost compete with Instagram, just with these experiences. And I think that's what Brian is trying to do. And it's really interesting how they've evolved and what's next. I don't know if you see.
It's a lifestyle brand. It's not a travel brand. It's lifestyle, right? It's like now you have connections. As you said, Instagram is a social network. Now you have Airbnb connections with it. For example, you have experience, have no clue. You learn how to cook spaghetti in Italy with some Italian mama and some cool people. You can stay connected with these people you met offline, even after the experience. Think about this. It's a cool social network with people who actually exist, who you've actually met, you actually find friendly. If you compare with X, for example, it's real people you like, and in terms of value of the connection, it's very important, even money-wise, right? It's a connection with somebody exists, even for them to analyze sort of data. It's really, really good because they kind of know who you're friends with. So it's really good. And why not? At some point, they could even do dating on their web. Why not? At some point, you have a lot of connections, people you met at an experience at Airbnb, you can stay in touch. I don't know. I think we're 2 years away from the first Airbnb baby or something like this, but I'm half kidding, but that's where they're going indeed. It's a social network, it's a lifestyle brand, and getting as much data as they can from travelers. So that's what they're doing. They're very traveler friendly, very guest centric, which is good. So it's not bad for us if in the end they bring more people to their platform. But what's for sure, I want to say two things here. Airbnb's role as well is to increase the competition among hosts, right? They want us to lower our prices, right? To keep our prices in check. And second thing, what we've seen in Europe, for example, I used to pay 15% as a host. I'm paying 15.5%. Looks like nothing, but if I eat it up, it's a lot of money on my bookings, right? So it does mean now Airbnb could increase to 16% in the US at some point. What are you going to say? Well, it's just 0.5% more and you have nowhere to go anyways. It is very interesting because it's hard for them to increase the fee on the guest side, but on the hosts. On the other hand, it's a business. Nobody's forcing us to be on the platform. You have to play by the rules, but we have to know what the rules are as well, right? I think it's interesting. I don't think they're evil at all, right? I'm just saying to your point, they have a priority, which is the guests, and doing everything to cater to them. And we happen to try to get some business from that platform. That's it.
Yeah. And I think what they're doing is, even though they're increasing pricing on us, I think what they're doing is good for the world in general. Just, creating these experiences where we can connect people from different areas of the world and connect them. They can actually meet in person and share thoughts in person versus, Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, where you can just battle with people online, and it's not good for our health, and it's not really who we are. And on Twitter, you can get in an argument with somebody, and then all of a sudden you put them in a certain group, whether you're on the left or on the right, or you're red or blue or whatever it is. But when you're in person, you're not going to do that. You're going to treat each other with respect, and make more of those connections in the world. I think is a really good thing.
That's true. And think business, I don't have my hat, if I had a hat, as you do, putting my business hat on, and you know what? Imagine I happen to be a platform with accommodations with Airbnb friendly buildings. What if I was welcoming students? I was doing student housing. I can match roommates now. I know what you like. I have so much data about you. I know who your friends are. Why don't I try to do this? There's, again, in terms of housing, a lot of things, they can go after a long way. They already offer things to tenants to have Airbnb-friendly buildings. Why not roommate matching? Because again, they're committing for AI, maybe segue to AI, but for AI, it's so important to have a lot of data on people, and nothing is better than a social network to have a lot of data on people.
That's very true. I was listening to a podcast yesterday. They were talking about social cards or something, like social IQ cards, and the government getting a hold of those things. It was a deep hole I got into, but let's talk about AI. So what do you view as the future of, we talked a little bit about the future Airbnb, but the future of revenue management? What are you guys looking at PriceLabs?
So funny enough, when I joined the company 3 years ago, we started talking about AI. As before ChatGPT arrived to the market, all these dynamic pricing tools like PriceLabs have been using AI in some shape, some form, from machine learning to other things, to understand as I said, right, to build a pricing model, you have to understand the patterns on any market. You have to see how things are changing. These are some AI, it's called narrow AI, but it's a flavor of AI. Not just that, but at least. But there's no way 3 years ago, as a product marketer, I could have gone and said out to the world, we're using AI, artificial intelligence, to price your listing. Probably like, what is that? It sounds scary. It's a robot. I don't do this. Sounds funny, but that's how it is, right? So we've been using this because that's the core of the dynamic pricing in a way. So obviously, you mentioned event detection, for example. We still using this, and we are better and better at seeing what's happening in the market, seeing variations in the market, making the price evolve. Or what recently we rolled out, for example, making also minimum lengths of stay dynamic. Pricing has been dynamic. How about minimum lengths of stay? What I mean to say is that your minimum length of stay in August is probably not the same in April, but how about September, October? What should it be? And by the way, what should it be for last minute, for far out bookings from the future? That's a lot of things. We analyze that. We can recommend that and automate it for you, so that already whenever a booking is coming from a year from now, make sure it's at least 7 days. Or if it's last minute, maybe it will be shorter. So we can automate all this. And that's, again, the beauty of AI. But what we see, though, we've learned a bit from ChatGPT, I must say, and that revenue management tools can be scary, complicated. You're like, wow, what's happening? Wow, I need a degree in something, right? It's true, because it's tech, it's the adoption curve, right? The first people to go after tech, they don't mind if the tech is a bit clunky, if it's not even in your own language. It's cool, you'll do it because you are more of a geek or a nerd, right? Okay, me. And then as tech goes on, you want to go mainstream. So suddenly the interfaces have to be better. If somebody is Spanish speaking, it has to be in Spanish because it sounds scary enough to give to some company the trust to do my pricing. But if I don't even understand all the buttons, looks like, I understand maybe at distance, you're like, oh, wow, I'm not sure what I'm doing. It's pricing, it's my revenues. That's important. So you understand this. So what we've done as well, for example, we implemented AI in the sense that now we still have these charts showing you future prices, where we're going, but we have a button called AI Insights, and the data-heavy charts become a very easy to read text summary telling you, next summer looks shaping out worse than last year. Here are the high demand dates we're seeing for you, and it's great. So it's not dumbing down the tool; it's making it more accessible for a different audience. So we see more of that. Or for example, we have analytics report about your bookings, how you're doing. We trial right now a chatbot. You can ask a question to the report. For example, saying, compared with last year, how are we doing? Are we getting more bookings for this segment of my portfolio of listings? Is it better or not? And by looking at the reports we have, it's leveraging large language models like ChatGPT, let's say, to be able to understand your question, then go through the data and analyze that. So it's really where we see already doing this today. So of course, the future could be, and that's a tricky one, though. And I wonder what you're thinking about this, right? But sometimes what I'm hearing in the future is like, where what I would like is like, people could ask PriceLabs, I want to set up the best pricing strategy, and my minimum should be this, and minimum stay should be this, and just do it for me. It is a tricky one, because I don't know whether you would do that. I'm curious for your business, you would do that, because it does mean the person deciding is PriceLabs or the company, not you anymore. And if it doesn't work out, whose fault is it, right? And if you make an owner unhappy because your pricing went wrong, is it you, or are you going to say it's not me, it's the machine, right? So it is so tricky, right, at some point. So I don't know how you feel about this. So where do you see this going? I'm actually curious.
That's an interesting question. I do this for example, when I launch a new listing, I'm launching 4 new ones right now. I use ChatGPT, and I've trained a custom GPT to write my marketing copy, like my listing description, the space. I've trained it to write based on the highest converting copy that I've found. Worked with RankBreeze, worked with a couple other people to figure out what's the highest converting. And so I put in some questions, some prompts that, hey, what is this house like? How many bedrooms? What are the amenities? What's nearby? The address, that sort of thing. And then it creates the listing description for me, which is great. And then I review it, and then I use it. I use it very, very well. And we tweak it a little bit, but same thing for, in this instance, it's, hey, like one of the big things that I do is I set a per month, per property goal for all of my properties, and I manage that on a weekly basis with my revenue manager. I really don't care what it's priced at, the base rate, the minimum rate, the max rate. I don't really care. I just want to make sure I'm hitting my goals for my owners and I'm hitting my company goals. And so in that case, if we were able to say, hey, this new property I'm launching, I want it to make $118,000 in the next 12 months based on seasonality. What should my goals per month be? And then what should my price per night be? If I want to hit 50% occupancy, in order to hit this goal, I need to price it at $600 a night. I'm more likely to get booked on the weekends. Those sort of things, I think, that's what I think through. However we could get there, I think would be great. But
yeah. But already we are there in the sense that the pricing tools recommend the prices already, even the length of stay now, right, to reach your goal. And PriceLabs, you can even now enter your own goals for the.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's great.
Reporting. So that's completely understand that. And to us, everything you say, and to us, the person still pressing the button to say, yes, that's what I want is there. So there's a sense of degree of execution and still in terms of decision being surfaced and say that, is it really what you want, consequences, and showing you, for example, already we're doing this projection where that's where you'll be at, just to make sure within the market, right? Because what we see as well, we talk about tech, we see as well, it means that revenue managers, retraining they have a hard skill in math in a way, that's retraining to soft skills. Because in the end, to talk with you, Mike, maybe in terms of either a strategy or talking with a marketing team or about a campaign or talking to the distribution team to talk about, Airbnb is doing this. Should we just go to Vrbo? What should we do? You need the teams to be able to talk together. So the tools, of course, can help. As I said, reports should be accessible, But it also means that as AI is here, it means that the revenue manager now will also have to understand not only the math, but also be able to communicate further, because will be one level up here as business owners. Be like, okay, I want that strategy, and that should work with them. And then what should be the marketing plan to get this? We have the price, what should be the channels, and so much so forth. So it's interesting, but